Hello, I am Tom Chick. It is Saturday morning, March 28th, and I just wanted you to know, I warned you, it's the weekend. I did warn you I might show up in pajamas. So here I am. I hope everyone is having a good weekend so far. We are about to play a little bit of Aftermath over here on the dining room table. It won the vote from yesterday. I'm looking forward to showing it to you. Before we begin, I got a couple of comments yesterday, and these are always grateful, by the way, especially corrections, in which I was called out for making fun of the title of Call to Adventure. And I berated the developers and said, no, it's Call of Adventure. And Brian pointed out to me, and thank you for this, Brian, you can say Call to Adventure just like you can say Call to Arms. And my friend Tony also pointed out, dude, that is the first step of the hero's journey. That whole fashionable Joseph Campbell nonsense is the hero gets the Call to Adventure. So, all right, Call to Adventure, you win this round. That one's on me. Let's go over here, and I'm going to set up the mission I'm about to play in Aftermath, in which I am answering the Call to Adventure. And after I set it up, I'm going to play it, and then I'm going to come back and tell you a little bit about the fallout and what I've accomplished. This won't be a full playthrough. It'll be a before and after. So let's go take a look at the setup. Aftermath is a adventure book. Shoot, I can never remember. It is an adventure book game from Plaid Hat about little animals in a post-apocalypse where all the humans have vanished. I think the idea they're going for is a Watership Down or Secrets of NIMH sort of thing. It is not as childish as their first adventure book game, which my friend Sharon reminded me, is called, I couldn't remember the name, I was thinking it was something like Bedtime Tales, or I think I even suggested Snuggles Adventures, something precious like that. It's called Stuffed Fables. That clearly for children. Their follow-up Comanauts, I think less for children, and this is the third in the adventure book series, and slightly childish, a little precious, a little cute, but there is some solid survival gameplay here, which is what I like about it. I'm going to show you the setup. If you see here, this is the rules book, and you go according to the game setup every time you sit down to play. And this just tells you, and I'll give you the close-up cam here, this just gives you the basic information about which tokens to put out, what to do with the miniatures, what decks to pull out. And then the very last step right here, if it's your first game in the campaign, you start by going to page 2 in the adventure book. If it's your second game or later, you go to page 3 in the adventure book. So we're now done with the manual for the time being. We can look things up if we need to, and unfortunately we will probably need to. I do have an issue with this game. There are some vagaries in the rules book that I ranted about yesterday in Call to Adventure. That sort of issue is sometimes present here in Aftermath. Fortunately, there's a much stronger game underneath. So we have here the adventure book setup. We open it up, and when you first start playing, there's all this backstory about the day of great calamity, and you read that, but that's page 2. We are not going to page 2. We have been instructed to go to page 3, and page 3 instructs us what to do to set up for a continuing game. And the very first thing that we want to do is choose what mission we are going to go on. I have here, actually before I do that, let me show you. Here are the 4 characters. Each of them has his or her own tuck box right here. And as you play the game, the character and the skills and the character's starting item, some of his or her inventory, is stored in these tuck boxes. So we're putting these aside right now. We don't need them. And we also have tuck boxes. This is the banished tuck box. It's stuff that we have used or that we have trashed or resolved. That's out of the way. And in case it's not clear, this is very much a campaign game. You don't just sit down and play one session. You play a campaign of linked missions that have an effect on each other. So some things get banished from the game. This here is, I think, called the story deck or the adventure deck. These things here, you draw from this deck of cards as conditions change, as you unlock elements of the gameplay. And then finally, here's our colony. Our colony deck, I'm going to empty it out right here, has a few things in it. It has the inventory items that we have found. Every time you play a game, you take these inventory items and you put them back in the colony box. And then before a mission, you look at your inventory and you hand things out to the different characters. However, a lot of the inventory in this game has a repair cost. And you have to pay scrap to equip items each time you want to bring them out. And that's one of the resources you manage. Another persistent facet of your colony is these dials. We see here time is set up for an individual mission. Clues is an overall campaign progression. We might see some of that today. Scrap is what we use to build stuff, including equipping inventory items we want to bring out on a mission. You'll see I've only got 1 point of scrap. I will not be equipping any inventory items from my colony box. Down here we have our food, our population, and our morale. If any of those reaches 0, it's game over. We've lost. So in addition to that element of our colony as persistence, we have our inventory. We also build structures. I have spent scrap building a mender's hut and a lookout post. The significance of these will become obvious as we accomplish missions and resolve an intermission step that determines what happened to the colony while we were away. It's when we feed our people, and it's when we can build new buildings. So these will come into play later. We've also found this during one of the other missions. There are vehicles in this game. We've found one, but I don't know what to do with it. Later on, there will be instructions in one of the missions that says something about, hey, if you've got the milk carton boat, do such and such. So we've got a milk carton boat. Similarly, by the way, you will note one of our inventory items is a dog biscuit. What does it do? We don't know. It's just, at some point, it'll be referenced in the adventure book. So I'm guessing we'll meet a dog. So carry the dog biscuit with you. All right, so before we do this first step of choosing a main mission and a side mission, let me show you really quick. We have a guinea pig who is kind of our tank. And I like the miniatures in this partly because they're not your usual badass grim monster with a lot of tentacles. Can you tell I've been playing a ton of Deep Rising? Of course you can. You've been here with me. And I also like the fact that they have this, I guess it's called a wash. It's like highlighting that brings out some of the detail. Messiah is our kind of sharpshooter. Look, he's got a little, he, I guess that's a dude. He's got a little ink pen, like an old-timey pen, goggles. Ringer, missing a vowel from her name. I forget which ones are chicks. I think Ringer might be a chick. Ringer has a cape and a gun. Here's the gun. It's the one-shot. These starter items you can always bring with you. You don't have to pay scrap to bring those along. And then finally, Whisper is our ninja character. Weapon is a chopstick. These characters all have skills. They all have a starting skill. And in the last mission, I hit a threshold where everybody gets an additional skill. Furthermore, you'll note that Whisper has 3 skills. That's because, as I showed you a moment ago, in addition to the lookout tower, I had spent an exorbitant amount of scrap building the mender's hut. Now, to win this campaign, as I mentioned before, to lose it, all you have to do is hit 0 on your population or morale. To win this campaign, each of the character cards has a goal. Whisper, for instance, wants me to build a mender's hut, check, and wants a population, where'd it go? A population of 20. Let's see how we're doing. Our population is 6, nowhere near. But to win the game, we have to meet each of the 4 characters' goals. So, because of Whisper's goal, we need a high population. Ringer's goal, we're going to need to build a workshop, and we need that certain vehicle there. Messiah's goal, check this out. Have Mission 11 in your Banished deck box, and we need Alliance cards. Now at this point, I don't have Mission 11 even unlocked. I have no idea what it is. Presumably an important story mission. I also don't even know what Alliance cards are. Again, that's something I haven't unlocked. I'm guessing a later mission, I'll make an alliance with, I don't know, other little creatures. We'll find out. And then finally, Grumple wants a garden. The guinea pig really likes gardening, I suppose. So winning the campaign involves building up your colony and working your way through the story missions. All right, so finally we are up to this first step in the setup for an ongoing game, and that is where we pick a main mission and a side mission. Here are the main missions that I've unlocked so far. Forage the Area is a mission that seems to always be available. You can recycle it, and it just requires needing food. We are not short on food at this point, so this is not a mission that we're eligible to do. These 3, 8A, B, and C, they seem to be, I'm pretty sure they're story missions, and they're related to different points on the map. Before I get to that, I want to show you this one. Sideswipe is a story mission I unlocked on the last game I played that has to do with investigating a food truck that's wrecked. I did something that said, hey, take mission 9 from the adventure deck, put it in your colony box. So we could do this if we wanted. However, I'm not too concerned with food at this point. So let me look. These 3 missions here are all about house hunting, finding housing, which I presume is expanding our base. Each of them relates to a different spot on the map, which is just this cute little city grid right here. We start in Abigail Lane, and this little standee represents our party of characters. The first mission, for instance, involved going through E Street to Injo, and then this is always your first mission, and then exploring something here. And once I found something there, I unlocked a mission to go get fresh water. And I forget where that was. Where did I get the fresh water? At any rate, then I did that mission. This will be our 3rd mission. And what we're basically looking to do is finding housing either in North Bend, Central Place, or down here in Chandeliers. Now, the text in front of each of the mission cards, that's flavor text. It's got the cute little animals talking to each other. I'm not going to read you that stuff. It's not quite as insufferable as Stuffed Fables, but again, it's a little precious. More importantly, though, the back of the card has specifics about where you go to do the mission, what happens if you succeed, and what happens if you fail. And generally, success and failure refer you to a different page in the storybook. So what we have to decide right now is which of these 3 spots, Central Place, North Bend, or Chandeliers, do we want to expand to? And I'm going to go ahead and go down here to Chandeliers, partly because the flavor text implies that our boat might come in handy. And if you look too at the picture there seems to be a swimming pool down there in Chandeliers. So what we're going to do is choose house hunting in Chandeliers as our main mission. And on the other side, you can see what this involves is going to B3. We have 3 turns to do this. Now that's a little misleading. It's not that we have 3 turns to do it. What we're going to do is we're going to set our time dial to 3. And certain actions that we take will move that time dial. And when we get back to our base, when we finish the mission, the amount of time that we took compared to how much was allocated for the mission will determine what things happened to our colony in our absence. And you'll get to see that later today. So we take these missions, these main missions, and they go back in a mission deck, which is just a stack of the missions that we're not using. We can look at these side missions now. We have 3 of them. I am just, and actually it's kind of cool the way that these work. Outreach is a way to build your population. It involves looking for an encounter card. It involves mixing an encounter card into this deck of encounters that we're going to draw from. And if you resolve it in a certain way, you add population points. And remember, you have to keep those people fed. So I think there's an interplay with doing this outreach and doing this forage the area in terms of balancing your population and your food. Exterminators is a mission in which, and I'm going to show you all these other there's actually not that many of them. These are the minis for the enemies that you can fight, and some of them are scorpions. Exterminators involves basically looking for the scorpions and trying to take them out. And frankly, I'm not sure I really want to fight scorpions. Here's a really cool one I want to show you. Junk Hunt. Junk Hunt tells you to go through the item deck, and the item deck is pretty generous. There's quite a lot of cards here. Pick any one item you want. Any one, go through there. Look for the item that goes best with one of the characters that you're playing. Pick any one of them, and then put them in the top 3 cards of the deck. And as you're playing, you get to draw item cards. And what Junk Hunt lets you do is seed the top of the deck with an item card that you want from amongst all of them, which is pretty cool. Now, there is a bit of a penalty. You'll note that if you fail Junk Hunt, you lose a point of morale. And that's one of the things that moves the morale track is failures, setting yourself objectives like this and not meeting them. So for our side goal, we know for our main goal, we are house hunting and chandeliers. For our side goal, I'm actually going to put exterminators out there. And then we're setting aside the mission deck. And I'm going to take these 2 mission cards and put them up here. The setup now tells us to resolve setup for each of these mission cards. The setup for the exterminators is to look for encounters 1 and 4, shuffle them together with the top 3 random encounters. Actually, I gotta look for them first, and then set up the deck that way. So we take this, we are looking for 1 and 4. Actually, no, 4 is the scorpions, 1 is a bunch of roaches who are really gross. Now we shuffle this deck. We deal the top 3 cards, that's 2. And then we shuffle these 2 into the top 3, and what we're trying to do, and there's actually one of the reasons I'm picking this for the side mission, there's no penalty for failure. Just if we then draw the roaches or the scorpion encounter, we will succeed at the side mission. So this is our encounter deck. These are our items from the colony supply. Anything that requires a repair we can't use because we don't have the scrap. I might be hobbling myself because of this. So we're putting these back into the colony box. I probably should have saved some scrap, right? We'll find out. These couple of items here, the dog biscuit and this scarf, those don't require scrap. We're going to give them to Grumple the guinea pig. And now we refer to the map. We move our party from Abigail Lane to an adjacent spot. We're trying to get down here. We don't have any vehicles yet. You can unlock like bicycles and cars and stuff like that. We have none of that. We're hoofing it. So I've actually been to E Street. I'm actually going to go over familiar ground. We're going to move here to space B1, and this tells us to go to page 5. Just to get it out of the way, I am moving the city map up here, and we go to page 5 of this book, which here's our first mission. This is setup instructions, pretty straightforward. All of the characters are put on the entrance space, which is right here. Actually, is that right? Yes. We now seed these magnifying glass spaces with scavenge tokens, which is partly how we find scrap and food. Scavenge tokens are divided into 2, 3, and 4. This is the difficulty and also the lucrativeness of what you find. We will put 1 here. We put 1 here and here. 1 here. And now we generate an encounter by drawing this card. Special encounter, go to E1. All right, this could be good or bad news. You will note, and actually I wanted to set up my interface mod here. Each page in the storybook is a map on the left, special instructions on the right. Here's the setup. These are kind of, I guess, spoilers. So my interface mod is to put these white index cards bloop, there so that things aren't spoiled, so that I don't accidentally see stuff. And what we've been instructed to do is to resolve E1. Which, let's see, some leaders snarl at us. They're no match for our crew. They know it. There's a chance that we can talk our way out of this. So we're setting up an encounter with nomads equal to the number of characters. Here are the different monster decks. Here's a nomad. There are 4. Nomads are just meeklings in this game. There are 4 of them. And we're just going to put them on the map at the location where enemies go, which is right up here. We are furthermore going to take this token to indicate that the situation is not hostile. If this was the case, we would go into like combat mode. Right now, we can just walk around and scavenge and hopefully talk to these little mice. So I take their cards. So I am going to take these meekling cards, shuffle them up, and then deal them out onto this enemy track right here. And then we start the game, starting with each character drawing cards and then taking actions based on what cards they have. The cards are spent to fuel the actions. The special rule here says if we communicate with all of these meeklings, we go to 5.2, which is going to be one of these. It's the resolution down here. 5.2 is basically, well, spoiler, I've already looked at it. It gives us more population for our colony, and then we can move to another adjacent spot. So I'm going to play. I will be back and show you guys how things turned out. Wish me luck. Okay, actually, you know what? I lied. I'm actually going to come back tomorrow morning and let you know how I did. I don't want these videos to go on for too long. Nobody wants to listen to me talk about a board game for an hour. So that's it for today. I hope everyone is enjoying your Saturday. I hope everyone is taking care of yourselves. Let's go make a coffee, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Cheers. Oh, shoot a monkey.